Chapter 1, The Unnatural Commonalities That Cannot Be Dismissed as Coincidence. As our first chapter, let's dig deep into the unnatural commonalities that exist between these two women, one by one. At first glance, they have no points of contact, but when we carefully pick up the depictions in the story, a terrifying synchronicity emerges. Broadly speaking, there are 4 common points. 1. Names derived from plants and their contrasting flower languages. The first is the origin of their names. Killua's mother, Kikyo, comes from the bellflower, which is called Kikyo in Japanese. And there is a very strong theory that the name Rinko, who appeared in the past arc, is taken from the root of the lotus, or Rincon. What is even more interesting is the flower language that these two plants possess. The flower language of Kikyo includes endless love and obedience. This perfectly matches her nature of having an abnormal obsession and excessive affection for her family. In contrast, the flower language of the lotus includes departing love and a pure heart. In contrast to Kikyo, who clings to her family, Rinko indifferently performs her embalming work and maintains a certain distance from Maki and the others. It is highly suggestive that, despite their names originating from plants, their meanings possess the exact opposite traits of obsession and separation. 2. The peculiar root of the closed land, Meteor City. The second is their strong connection to Meteor City. In the past arc, Rinko appeared as a resident of Meteor City, making a living through the specialized work of embalming. And actually, it has been clearly stated in official guidebooks that Kikyo is also originally from Meteor City. Meteor City, with its teaching of we reject no one, so take nothing from us, is a closed society with extremely little outside interaction. The existence of 2 female nin users with similar atmospheres originating from such a unique environment is a factor that is hard to consider a mere coincidence. 3. Beautiful appearance and hidden facial features. The third is their physical characteristics and visual contrast. Both are very tall and slender, elegantly and gracefully wearing dresses and tight clothes. However, what demands the most attention is the decorations that hide their faces. Since her first appearance, Kikyo has wrapped the lower half of her face in bandages and worn a mechanical electronic visor over her eyes, completely hiding them. Rinko, on the other hand, covers everything from her neck to her mouth with thick clothing or a mask-like fabric, completely hiding her mouth. The woman who hides her eyes and the woman who hides her mouth. When viewed side by side as characters, they appear to be intentionally designed to act as counterparts. 4. Twisted evaluation of talent. Finally, the 4th commonality is their unique sensibility toward talented youth. In the Phantom Troop's past arc, when faced with Maki, whose talent for seeing aura had blossomed, Rinko stated, "You have pretty eyes." It's quite irritating. Where one would normally offer straightforward praise, she deliberately used the word irritating as a slightly twisted expression of endearment. This overlaps perfectly with Kikyo. When Killua directed a cold, murderous intent and sharp glare at her while trying to run away from home, instead of showing fear, she was overcome with emotion and rejoiced, saying, "You've learned to look at people with such cold eyes. How wonderful, you've grown." When faced with promising talent or sharp, beautiful eyes, they do not praise it genuinely, but evaluate it with a twisted sense of superiority or masochistic joy. This underlying, deeply abnormal sensibility is a complete match between the two. Chapter 2, The Walls of Timeline and Nen category that stand in the way. With this many commonalities, one would want to conclude that the two are the same person, but when organizing the factual timeline within the story, we are forced to outright deny this theory due to 2 decisive contradictions. 1. The physically impossible wall of timeline and age. The biggest contradiction is the timeline within the story. Killua resolved to form the Phantom Troop when he was 11 years old. Since there is only a 2-year age difference between Killua and Illumi, the eldest son of the Zoldyck family, Illumi would already be 9 years old at this time. Furthermore, the second son, Muluki, had already been born, and it was a timing approximately 2 years before the birth of the third son, Killua. Only one fact can be derived from this. During this period, Kikyo had long since married into the Zoldyck family of the Pinocchio Republic, and she should have been right in the middle of conducting the intense education of Illumi and Muluki as the matriarch of the assassin family. No matter if she was originally from Meteor City and could return home, for the wife of the head of the family to spend long periods entering and leaving a church in Meteor City, continuing an underground business as an embalmer that takes days to repair bodies, it must be said that it is physically and circumstantially extremely difficult. 2. The wall of Nin category that overturns the setting. Another point that cannot be overlooked is the difference in their Nin categories. In the world of Hunter x Hunter, a Nin category is the very identity of a character. Kikyo's Nin category has long been considered to be manipulation based on official information. In fact, even in the story, she has shown glimpses of abilities typical of a manipulator, such as sharing vision through her electronic visor and instantly rendering the butler canary unconscious from a distance. However, in the bonus pages at the end of Volume 38, it was explicitly stated that Rinko's Nin category is specialization. Of course, there are established rules where one can change to a specialist under certain conditions, like Kurapika, or the setting that the probability of acquiring specialization later in life is higher for certain categories. However, when combined with the timeline discrepancy, having different Nin categories requires a somewhat forceful interpretation to establish them as the same person. Chapter 3, The Sister Theory That Solves All Contradictions, and the dark connection it reveals the same person theory is practically impossible. However, it is also unreasonable to dismiss the unnatural commonalities raised in Chapter 1 as mere coincidence. Therefore, the hypothesis currently supported as the most persuasive analysis is the theory that Kikyo and Rinko are not the same person, but sisters or close blood relatives. 1. The resolution of contradictions and the perfect contrasting structure. If they are sisters, the contradictions of Chapter 2 are resolved in an instant. It would not be strange at all for their Nin categories to differ between manipulation and specialization. The discrepancies in age and timeline are naturally cleared up since they are different people. On top of that, the facts that they hail from the same Meteor City, have plant-derived names, possess contrasting visual designs, and share a peculiar sensibility function perfectly as commonalities precisely because they are blood-related sisters. The older sister Kikyo who clings to her family and hysterically screams her love, and the cold younger sister Rinko who mourns the dead in the underworld of Meteor City and maintains a distance from others. This contrast of light and shadow is an incredibly beautiful and persuasive character dynamic for a narrative. 2. The reason behind the uncanny sense of distance between the Zulks and the troop. And assuming the sister theory is true, one great mystery in the story is unlocked. That is, the uncanny closeness and distance between the Zoldyck family and the Phantom Troop. In the past, Silva assassinated a troop member, and at that time, he warned his family, do not mess with the troop. Yet later, the fourth son, Kalito, easily joined the Phantom Troop, and the eldest son, Illumi, also joined the troop of his own volition. Why did Kikyo, who is so overprotective that she threw a hysterical fit and tried to kill just because Gon and the others came to pick up Killua, smoothly allow her own sons to join the world's worst criminal syndicate? If Rinko, who taught the initial members of the troop about the existence of Nin, was Kikyo's sister. To Kikyo, the Phantom Troop would not just be a dangerous group of thieves, but would be recognized as the juniors from Meteor City whom her sister once kept an eye on and gave the catalyst for Nin. That is exactly why she understands their goals, their true strength, and the depth of their roots better than anyone else, and she may have permitted her sons to intervene there. Chapter 4, The Succession Contest and Meteor City. The true aim of the Zoldyck family finally, operating under the premise of this sister theory, let us analyze what kind of impact it will have on the ongoing story and future developments. This blood relationship has the potential to become a terrifying backdrop that shakes the very foundation of the story. 1. The true mission of Illumi and Kalito on the Black Whale. Currently, in the lower tiers of the Black Whale, Hisoka's hunt for the Phantom Troop is underway. Kalito and Illumi joined under their respective pretexts, but if there was a deep connection to Meteor City through Kikyo from the very beginning, they are not mere newcomers, but would hold a special position as blood relatives of their benefactor Rinko. The enlistment of Illumi and Kalito raises the possibility that it is not driven solely by personal motives, but is an organized surveillance operation with the intentions of Kikyo, and by extension the Zoldyck family, intervening. 2. The collapse of the troop and the recovery of assets. Then, What is the true aim of the assassin family? What if Kikyo, thoroughly businesslike, had already coldly calculated that the Phantom Troop will eventually collapse due to the death match with Hisoka? The hidden mission given to Illumi and Kalito might be to completely reclaim the useful nin abilities, such as Kurlo's skill hunter, assets, or the Meteor City interests they possess, for the Zoldyck family at the exact moment the troop is wiped out. If she, who favors the eyes of talented youths, is quietly monitoring the process of the troop, an unprecedented gathering of talent, being broken apart, it paints a profoundly terrifying picture. 3. Everything returns to Meteor City. Currently, an ominous foreshadowing remains that Gyro, who vanished during the Chimera Ant arc, is heading for Meteor City. When the death match on the Black Whale concludes and Gyro causes an incident in Meteor City, it is highly conceivable that the surviving members of the Phantom Troop, and the Zoldyck family led by the Meteor City-born Kikyo, will converge there. In the midst of that massive conflict, the past concerning Meteor City and Rinko is finally spoken from Kikyo's mouth, and that electronic visor she has kept hiding her true face behind for so many years is removed. From beneath it, the same beautiful yet cold eyes as Rinko's will appear. Such a gruesome intersection of fate, set in Meteor City, might just be waiting for us.